This is the Canon T3i, and this camera is very special to me. I believe in God, and I believe that God spoke to me, and He gave me a promise that something would happen in my life, and I have yet to see that thing happen. Even though I've seen God do a lot of crazy things, miracles, I've seen people get healed, I still struggle with doubt. And one day I was struggling pretty hard, and so I asked God, I said, if this thing that you've promised me is really actually going to happen, I really want a sign. And the sign that I asked for was that I could find a camera at the thrift store. Now, I go to the thrift store all the time. I love the thrift store. And I've never seen a DSLR camera there. I've never seen any interchangeable lens cameras at the thrift store. The best I've ever seen are, little digital point and shoot cameras. And so that's what I was expecting to see there. And the day I walked in and that I asked God that, I saw this camera sitting there on the shelf. Maybe you've been in a thrift store lately, you know that they're jacking up the prices. And this thrift store is notorious for that. They have little stickers next to everything saying, this is how much it costs on eBay. And they ask for crazy amounts of money. And so when I saw this camera, I thought, well, even if it doesn't work, I would pay $50 for it. Even if it doesn't work, I still believe that it was a sign from God, and I totally would pay $50 for that camera. And I asked the lady, and she looked at it, and it wasn't marked. It didn't have a price yet. And she looked at me and she said $6, $5.99. I left a sticker on there, $5.99. It came with a lens, it came with a battery, it came with a memory card, and it is in pristine condition. And that day, God answered my request, and He gave me this to prove to me that He's real. And the crazy thing about it, though, is not that I just found the camera at the thrift store. But the crazy thing about it is that I had this exact camera on my eBay cart, and I was about to buy it for around $200. But this exact same model, the T3i, was at the thrift store. And that totally blew my mind. And that's what leads into this, what I'm trying to do here. I want to breathe new life into this camera. We've all gone mirrorless, and mirrorless cameras are just amazing. God gave me this camera, so I wanted to make something special, something that would give this new life and that would help me use this camera even more. And my idea is to make a speed booster. I have a Bronica lens, and so I want to see if that can be adapted here to this camera somehow and make the image bigger. The T3i is an APS-C camera. And so my ambition, though, is to make this camera into a full frame camera and make this camera, this is the Canon 5D Mark II, make this camera into a medium format camera. Now, we've all seen those Capon or whatever it's called, that company that makes these speed boosters for full frame mirrorless cameras. And I myself have made a speed booster before for the Sony A7 cameras. And so I thought, well, I could do this for this. But there's challenges here. And the first challenge is that there's a lot of space. The mirrorless cameras don't have a lot of space. It's called the flange distance. There's not a lot of space in between where the lens gets put on and the sensor, right? Let me just grab a camera. This here is the G9, the Lumix G9 Micro Four Thirds camera. And I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that, but as you know, there's not a lot of distance here between the sensor and the lens. And that's what allows you to do crazy things like adapt any sort of lens on here, on this camera. And that's what gives you the ability also to make things like speed boosters. And so that's the first challenge. How are we going to get past the fact that there is not a lot of space here now? Because there's a lot of space being taken by this mirror inside of the camera. Okay, so I was doing some research on the interwebs, and when I did the Sony one, I did it with a Pentax 6.7 lens, and you know that camera is very available and people love it, and it's an amazing camera, the Pentax 6.7. But I was looking up online and I was just thinking I need the biggest flange distance possible. That's what led me to the Bronica. So the Bronica SQ has the biggest flange distance between the lens and the sensor. So that is what's gonna give me the ability to be able to make a speed booster. Now, the other thing about the speed booster is that the speed booster is gonna cut the distance. So now this would normally be all the way out here. The speed booster is gonna cut that down and it's gonna be way closer. And so there's not gonna be a lot of wiggle room here in order to be able to put the speed booster in there and have this still be able to focus. Now, when I did the Sony, the original one, it didn't focus to infinity. And so I want to make this be able to focus to infinity and be usable. The other thing that you run into issues here, especially trying to go medium format, is that the more light that enters into the sensor from the lens, the more artifacts can be brought in and the less sharpness there will be. So this lens is very sharp, right? But it's a 2.8. This is a Bronica 80mm 2.8. It's a very big, it's a bright lens, but if they had made this lens an f1.8, the quality of it would deteriorate. And so that's what you're struggling here with. I want to make it, as big as possible, reach medium format or even more, but the more light and the more glass is introduced, the less the image quality is going to be. So I'm going to have to find a way to balance that. All right, so here are some of the prototypes so far, and they all have something wrong with them. They don't work as well as I had hoped that they would work. At first, the first lens I tried, I'll put some images up, was very soft. I would create like this ghosting effect. And even though I finally got it down to be able to focus, it was not good wide open. Wide open, as you can see, it's like a double image. It just didn't work. And another issue I had is the inside. The inside of the 3D prints just looks awful and not very great, So the thing about this project here is what I wanted to do was make something that I could sell, make something that I could make some money with. And the more I am doing this project, the more I'm realizing that I'm a little greedy. And I want this to be perfect. I want to be able to sell it. I know the keep-on ones sell for, $500, $800, even $1,000. And I know mine would never sell for that much money because it's 3D printed. But at the same time, that's a big margin. That's a big margin to bridge that gap. I think, you could charge $250 and people would be happy. I mean, that's half of the cost of a keep-on one, even more than half, $800. And so that's what I set out to do. I set out to do this because I wanted to make money. But then I remembered the story about the camera. I remembered that this is about God, and God just rebuked me basically, and I changed my mind about what this could be. And I think I have a new goal in making this and in making other things, and that goal is going to be to just share them with you. Yes, I'm going to sell physical copies, but they won't be extremely expensive. They'll just cover the cost and then a little bit so that I could keep going, keep trying new things, keep inventing, keep it going, and realize that this isn't God. Like making a product, $1 million idea to then sell and squeeze every single cent and dime out of it isn't God. Because my money doesn't come from what I produce, right? The curse of Genesis says that we'll work by the sweat of our brow. And Jesus came to break that curse. And so if I believe that I no longer live in that curse, then why am I working by the sweat of my brow? God is going to provide for me. Jesus is going to make a way for me. And I believe that as I give this away, that God is going to give me more. See, this idea isn't just me in my brain. I don't own this idea. This idea is not mine to keep and squeeze for every cent. This idea is God's idea. God brought this idea in my brain. And if I want more ideas from God, and if I want to see, and if I want to love like Jesus loved, and I want to see other people succeed, you guys out there, then I need to just let it go. And so here's where things change. I was trying to make something that would sustain me. And now I realize that Jesus is the one who sustains me. And so what I want to do now is I want to make this YouTube channel about you, about giving you this idea, these tools, and maybe you could make a business out of it. Maybe you could do something with it, right? And so I am going to sell physical copies of the one I make, right? But I'm going to show you how you can make your own. And that's going to be another video. I'm going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to give you the list of things and where to buy them so that you can make one that works. Because I think that that's what it should be about. And I'm going to sell the files. I'm still going to sell the files, so you can buy it and make it yourself at a very cheap price. And if you can't make it yourself, I'm going to make some and you can buy them for me. Or you could just make your own. And so that's where I'm at right now. Okay, so remember how we talked about the original one just wasn't good. It was producing this ghosting effect. And so I was just racking my brain up about what to do about it. And I found this piece of glass here. And this piece of glass actually worked. And it still gives you a huge image, right? It still gives you a medium format size image, actually even bigger than Fujifilm digital, what they call like mini medium format. It gives you a bigger picture than that. But it's still a very clear picture, it's still a very crisp picture. And like I said, it does allow more light in, and so the lens becomes softer, but at least you're getting all that field of view. And so this proves that it works. And so this is the finished product. This is what I decided to do. I decided just to buy an adapter that you put on the back. So that's aluminum, so that when it goes inside the camera, you don't have to worry about it stripping or being plastic. And it just clicks in there just like any other lens. And then we talked about the screws. These are tripod screws. And I ended up going with ones that have little D-rings. And so that way you don't even need a coin. They just have these little D-rings on there that you can hold on to and twist. And the inside we talked about, we cleaned it up with that print overhangs in the printer. And that's how we were able to get that. And yeah, this is it. This is the whole thing. And it's awesome. I think it works great. I'm going to show you some sample pictures here. And we accomplished everything we set out to do. Here's the next project that I have, and that is to turn the Lumix Micro Four Thirds G9 into a medium format camera, or as close as I could possibly get it. Honestly, the speed boosters that are available for this right now only go almost to APS-C. And so getting anything bigger than APS-C to me is going to be a win. But stay tuned for that. I'm going to totally be working on that. Yeah, and I hope that you guys like this. The tutorial video is going to be coming soon. Yeah, I hope this blesses you. And I hope that you find that you can do whatever you want. Whatever you put your mind to, whatever you can think about, especially with 3D printers. Yeah, it can be achieved. But yeah, give me a follow and a like. Let me know if you like this video. Thanks.